Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday morning service at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Laguna Beach. My name is Oakley Frost, and I will be serving as your worship associate this morning. Our Zoom and audio-visual texts this morning are Don West Jr., Darius Garecki, and Pam Flodman. Our music director is the talented Carol Cole. I would also like to acknowledge and thank both personally and on behalf of the congregation, all those others who make these services and the work of the congregation possible, including our board and worship committee, and Paul Bogdan, and when she's not laid up, Candy Strock, for preparing refreshments and otherwise making the building ready for us each Sunday. And also to Paul for presiding over our Zoom at noon meetings every Monday. You may have noticed, if you're physically present here in the fellowship this morning, that repairs have not yet started. They were scheduled to begin this week, but our contractor had a pipe burst in his home, and he was unable to start work here last week. Accordingly, work is now scheduled to begin this coming Wednesday. Meanwhile, our contractor and Carl Kukkonen have obtained some color samples, and Noreen has brought them here to the fellowship. So they'll be available for you to take a look at and give us any comments so that we can get your input immediately following the service, so that the board can take that into account when they make a final decision on repainting the outside of the building at their board meeting a week from Monday. There are always more opportunities to work together and more to come. So if you're looking for a way to become more involved, please reach out. For any of you who are new to our community, please connect with us after the service if you would like to be added to our email list. Connecting with each other is the way in which we can build community and a strong base from which we can go out and make a difference in the world. If there's anyone here this morning for the first time, either in person or on Zoom, if you have not previously introduced yourself and you'd like to do so, mention your name and where you're visiting from, please raise your hand and we would like to recognize you. Is there anyone on Zoom? I can't tell. I don't have my glasses, so no, okay. Anybody here in the building? Yes. Good. Well, nice to have you back with us for the second time. 2 times in a row, that's good. Welcome. Throughout the service, this morning, if you are here with us in the building, I invite you to come forward and light a candle here in the sanctuary in recognition of whatever you are carrying in your heart as you join us for worship today. At UUFLB, we are a welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, whomever you love, no matter your age, your gender, your ancestral or ethnic background, your immigration status, or political affiliation, whatever sincere questions you bring with you today, whatever has brought you here this morning, we welcome you to our community of mutual caring and serious intent to grow as spiritual and ethical beings. On the slide, which Don will put up for us, is information about upcoming services and events here at UUFLB. On July 9, we have Bryce Hanson. On July 16, we have Don West Jr., our Democratic Process in Action, a report on the 2023 UUA General Assembly. Also, I can't read it from here, but I know we're also having the new member recognition ceremony. And also we'll be having a follow-up luncheon following the service that day. Also, following the service on July 16, we will be having something that was originally scheduled for today. That is the follow-up on our Reimagining the Future workshop. So if you haven't already done so, between now and then, please contact the person who has responsibility for any areas in which you would like to be involved in implementing the ideas that were advanced at that workshop. I know Pam is involved in worship, Don in outreach to other communities. I and Noreen are working on programming, and Noreen is for music. So anyway, if you have any other questions on who to contact, please let me know. And we're looking forward to formulating our definitive plans on moving ahead on the 16th. We're delighted to have with us here this morning to speak with us one of our own members, Bruce Johnson. There's a nice brief write-up on Bruce and some of his background information in the announcement that was set out for an email to everybody a couple of days prior to the service this morning. Bruce has a lot of varied interest. If you haven't had a chance to read that write-up, I suggest that you do so. If you have had a chance to read it, I think you'll agree that Bruce is something of a bit of a Renaissance man. He was an interpreter of the Korean language for the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War. He's been a librarian and director of several historical society libraries. He's a wine connoisseur. He's a philatelist, and he has an interest in historical bibliography. That is the history of the book as a physical object. What is not mentioned in our email announcement, and which I'd like to mention, is that in addition to Bruce and his husband, John, who is also here with us this morning, both being very active members in Tapestry congregation in Lake Forest, Bruce has also been a vital part of our congregation here at UUFLB. He served as a member of our recent ministerial search committee. He participated in UUFLB's Reimagining Our Future workshop, and he helps organize, together with John, the monthly efforts by Tapestry and UUFLB to feed the homeless at the alternate sleeping location. So we're delighted to have Bruce with us today. Each Sunday, wherever there is a service held by a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a chalice is lit. The flaming chalice is the only symbol of our faith. Bruce, if you would like the chalice, please. If you have joined us this morning by Zoom and have a chalice available, I invite you to light it as Bruce lights the chalice for us here at UUFLB. We hallow this time together by kindling this lamp of our heritage. Thank you. Our centering thought this morning is from Carl Sagan's book, Pale Blue Dot, an astronomer's thoughts regarding our planet. Look again at that dot. That's here, that's home, that's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever lived out their lives. Every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust, suspended in a moonbeam. Our opening hymn this morning is number 1000 in the Teal hymnal, Morning Has Come. For those of you who have joined us by Zoom, the words will be in the chat and also on the screen. Please stand if you wish and join with Carol as we sing hymn number 1000, Morning Has Come.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of day shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Up and our eyes to see that life without, open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love he shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Let us take a moment to remind ourselves why we come together as a community. I invite you to read these words together when and if it feels right for you. If you're on Zoom, please unmute your microphone so that we may feel the power when we join our voices together. The words of the unison affirmation will be on your screens. Please join us in reading. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We have now come to the point in our service to briefly share the important events that have touched our lives in the past week. Our joys, when shared, are magnified, and in sharing our sorrows, we provide the support and care that are vital for all of us in community. During this time of sharing our joys and sorrows, we will pause the recording of the service.
Thank you, Oakley. Good morning. This reading was written by Michael Gilmore, a veteran of the U.S. space program and a fellow of the British Interplanetary Society. On my desk sit two little objects, each with its own story. The first is a trilobite fossil, about 500 million years old. The other, an iron meteorite of unknown age. They represent the two greatest turning points in science, the Darwinian and the Copernican revolutions. Humanity has suffered numerous displacements from what it thought was its proper and rightful place at the center of the universe and at the pinnacle of creation. We now know we live on a small Darwinian branch out on a pale blue dot of a planet, somewhere out in the cosmic boondocks. Drawing from within the scientific revolution, I suggest a cure for our bruised ego. As a thought experiment, try turning things on their heads. Begin by viewing these revolutions not as demotions, but as inclusions. See yourself as a part of the natural world and thus as a part of the unfolding of a remarkable and mysterious universe. As Carl Sagan suggested, You yourself are star stuff, contemplating other star stuff. The more you understand about our origins, our evolution, and our place in the universe, the more you can feel yourself a part of this inclusion. At some point, you might even feel more at home. In fact, it could make you feel downright spiritual. As the American psychologist William James suggested, you may find a true religious sense when you have a feeling of being at home in the universe. The little fossil and meteorite on my desk hold for me a sense of wonder and adventure as they whisper of the mysteries of deep time and deep space. They tell some wonderful stories, stories that I hope we will all come to know and to cherish. They are the stories of science, stories that should make us all feel more at home in the universe. Here ends our reading for the day.
Thank you, Bruce. It is much a blessing to be able to give as it is to receive. In this self-governing and self-sustaining community, we recognize that it is a responsibility to do both well. Our fellowship depends on the love and generous contributions from our members. We are empowered by the innumerable gifts of those who join in covenant with us: time, compassion, humor, and financial contributions. And all of our gifts generously given are needed for this fellowship, for its continued good work in the world. During this time of offering, Paul will pass a basket within the fellowship. The information on your screen, which is also included in the email announcement, also provides additional ways in which you can give, either electronically or by sending a check to the fellowship. Please join us now, standing and forming a circle as you are able, to sing to each other words of sincere gratitude. From you I receive, to you I give.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Now, Bruce.
Few ideas lend themselves more to cliché than the concept of home. Excuse me. I knew there was something wrong. Home is where the heart is. A house does not make a home, or a home is wherever you hang your hat. Home is a handy concept for cogent quips. One of the most famous is from Robert Frost. Home is the place where, when you have to go there, they have to take you in. I guess that's mostly true, except, of course, if you were kicked out of your home for being gay and ordered never to return. The whole idea of home invokes images of comfort and a sense of belonging. Any place where you have to play some role or act pleasant when you don't feel pleasant isn't a home. A home is where you are, who you are, and there is no pressure for you to be anyone else. Home also often has a spiritual component, for home is where values are taught, or at least ought to be. And home is where faith is learned. It seems to me, however, that the whole concept of home is far more deeply rooted in what we call religion. It's true that as societies developed, from agrarian to industrial to knowledge-based, religion became less important as people became less obedient to traditional religious leaders and institutions. That's according to a recent report from the Public Religion Research Institute, an organization that studies political issues as they relate to religious values. Yet everywhere you look, religions and religious controversies are shaping our world. Religion is held up by some as the key solution to various social ills, such as poverty and racial tension. For others, religion is a major part of the problem. Religion generates critiques of inequality and capitalism, while others invoke it to celebrate the free market and individual wealth. Religion shapes views on policy issues as diverse as same-sex marriage, climate change, and government-sponsored healthcare. Religion juxtaposes faith and modern science, from challenges to evolution to debates on stem cell research. Religion likewise factors prominently in various military conflicts around the globe and in the long-running debates over the proper relationship between religion and the state. Even though people say, when asked, that they are generally less reliant on religion than their parents, religion remains a powerful source of beliefs, moral claims, and cultural practices. Religions still profoundly influence our contemporary world. I have yet to find a definition of the word religion that works well on a personal level. I have better luck trying to describe what religion is for. That is the purpose of all religion. One answer was offered more than a century ago by the philosopher William James, who said that religion is what humans use to feel personally that they are at home within the universe. According to James, the purpose of religion is to help make us feel we have a place in this mysterious world. From its beginning, the human species has been inclined to feel somewhat estranged and alienated from the world around them. In ancient times, some of that sense of estrangement came from simple ignorance of the world that surrounded them, the sun and the stars, the rain and the cold, the mystery inherent in birth and death. Nearly every aspect of life left humans feeling helpless against powerful forces they could not understand. Initially, people developed religion to offer a sense of protection from the unknown. Religion said, in effect, you may not understand what is going on out there, but fear not. You are still an important part of the universe, and there is a place for you in the grand scheme of things. You belong here. So again, religion was designed to help people feel they belonged in the world, to make them feel at home. As centuries passed, many of the technical mysteries of nature were explained, and people no longer puzzled about things like hurricanes or diseases or life cycles. They may still be challenging, but they weren't the mysteries they once were. But even as science unlocked many mysteries of nature, such as exploring our solar system and the universe beyond, unlocking the mystery of the atom, building heavier than air machines that actually flew, discovering new medicines and vaccines, mapping the human genome, and linking everyone by computer, tablet, and cell phone. Even with the astounding advances of civilization that broke down so many barriers between human life and the world around us, still, the human sense of estrangement and alienation has remained. Alienation even became a label to describe life in the 20th century. Science fiction writer Robert A. Heinlein offered a direct quotation from Exodus. This is from the 1611 King James Version of the Bible that summarized life in modern society. He titled his 1961 science fiction novel, Stranger in a Strange Land. That feeling gave rise to new philosophies like existentialism and new anxieties, emotional stresses, and disorders. We discovered that the cause of a sense of alienation was not just ignorance about the way the world works. That feeling of alienation, of being a stranger in a strange land, comes from something much deeper in the human psyche than mere ignorance. And in modern life, religion really serves the same purpose it did in ancient times. Not to offer superstitions that make it easier to cope with our ignorance, but rather to say to us now, as it said to others back then, you may feel helpless in this confusing modern world that changes so fast around you, but fear not. You are an important part of the universe, and there is a place for you in the grand scheme of things. You belong here. The purpose of religion now, as it was then, should be to help people feel at home in the universe. Many people thought that with the rise of science, religions would wither away. Since religions were developed to help people cope with the mysteries of nature they didn't understand, and with those mysteries solved, why would we need religion? So ironically enough, one great mystery of modern life is why religion hasn't disappeared in the scientific, industrial, and technological world we live in today. Where once it seemed that only one could be a Protestant, a Catholic, or a Jew, now the doors have opened so broadly, they seem to leave nothing out. Yoga and meditation coming from Hindu and Buddhist traditions are blending into our society. Reincarnation and mind over matter are no longer some esoteric fringe ideas. The vague term spirituality has captured the mainstream interest and in many ways has overtaken the marketplace, where once there were just religious denominations. Bookstores are filled more than ever with works on spirituality and religion. I dare say more popular than most books on science. The quest to feel at home in the universe is as strong now as it has ever been, undiminished by advances in modern science. Religion was not created to compensate for our ignorance about the ways of nature. Religion was created to help us feel we belong in a world we don't fully understand. In ancient days, that had primarily to do with the limitations of our scientific knowledge. In today's world, it has more to do with finding our place in a complex and constantly changing world. We've discovered that science cannot help us decide on questions of ethics or morals, or discern the difference between right and wrong. Science cannot supply us a sense of personal self-worth or assure us that we are living to our best potential. Science provides little help in overcoming feelings of alienation or estrangement. Those things that fill us with hope and confidence and purpose do not come from mere accumulated knowledge. They come from our relationships with the world we live in. Our yearning is to feel like we belong here, and that is the same yearning that people have had from the beginning of human history. The fundamental religious question then is how? How do we go about feeling ourselves to be at home in this universe? How do we feel comfortable with our place in the world and know that we belong here? It would be nice if there were a simple answer or roadmap to this goal, but there isn't. There are perhaps some clues that should attract our attention. One clue is from science, the other from theology. These clues come from decidedly different premises, but they seem to draw us to the same conclusion. First, a clue from science and Charles Darwin. Our common understanding of Darwin is fairly simple. that random genetic changes known as mutations appear in one generation and are passed on to new generations. Over the course of thousands of generations, those changes that contribute to the survival of a species are selected by evolution to continue. Those genetic changes that do not contribute to survival die out. In effect, the theory of evolution can be summarized by two concepts: random variation and natural selection. Our common concept of evolution is really that simple, and it turns out fairly accurate. We have accepted the process of evolution to be somewhat mechanical, that if we can know the effects of a genetic change, we can predict how it will evolve. In his seminal book, At Home in the Universe, however, Stuart Kauffman, a theoretical biologist, is not so sure it's that simple. Kauffman shows how evolution seems to respond to something more than mere natural selection of random mutations. He uses terms such as eukaryotic cells and autocatalytic sets to bolster his case, and that's where my eyes begin to gloss over. But there is little doubt that Kauffman's research is overwhelmingly peer-approved. His work is not scientifically controversial, though it is theoretically original. So what does this mean? Kauffman suggests that in addition to random variation and natural selection, evolution can be affected by something he calls self-organization and complexity. It is, he says, in the nature of any living organism to arrange itself into effective and meaningful form. I'll read that again. It is, he says, in the nature of any living organism to arrange itself into effective and meaningful form. It is not just evolutionary selection that guides the nature of every living being. There is an inherent striving almost to develop more effectively. Evolution relies on this inherent self-organization to work effectively. Variation and natural selection by themselves aren't sufficient to explain how life evolves. You and I are the products of millions of years of unexpected mutations and mechanical selection. This world could be populated by drastically different beings if mutations had accidentally been different than they are. Our replacements might have had eyes in the back of their heads, like many mothers actually have. And they could have flipped their wings and flown. But the accident of mutation gave us human beings, we who get goofy if we don't have enough sleep, and who, most of us anyway, have to wear glasses when we turn 40. Our species is an accident of nature, or is it? By saying that variation and selection are not the only elements of evolutionary change, Kauffman suggests that we no longer must think of ourselves as being here by accident. In fact, the process of self-organization suggests that it is in our own nature that we move as a species in one direction rather than another. We are expected, not accidental. Since Darwin, biological science has tended to stress reductionism, meaning that everything we are is reducible to its chemical and biological parts. Human beings are enzymes and neurological systems and ultimately atoms and electrons, just like everything else. Kauffman's theory of self-organization, though, says that it is in the nature of living systems that they are greater than their parts, something more than just a unique combination of atoms. The science of evolution is never entirely predictable. Again, what has this to do with human feeling at home in the universe? We are not machines brought about by accident and following some preordained path of genetically designed behavior. We are, in fact, part of the universe, and one crucial element of our universe is the quality of creativity. We share that quality, and it is within our natural power as humans to seek creative relationships with the world we live in. It is, after all, our home. The question remains, what can we do to achieve that, to be at home in the universe? Kaufman approaches this question with a very simple answer. To welcome, in fact, to seek out diversity in the world around us. He reaches this view as a biologist who can't help but be impressed with the results of biodiversity, the flowering of different species on the earth. How do we find our place in the universe? By seeking relationships with the diverse offerings of the human family. Diversity begets diversity, which drives the growth of complexity. To withdraw into our own isolated world, to retreat from the richness of different life in the world we encounter, is to deny the rightful place in the universe. Let me shift now to a theological perspective rather than a scientific one. Henry Nelson Wyman was the most famous proponent of theocentric naturalism, which suggests that evolution is a creative process where the result was greater than its components. He also taught that the evolution of human thought was the product of creative human interaction. Our ideas and value systems take monumental leaps simply because we interact with one another and share our thinking. From the infant who learns the difference between hot and cold, to the aging person who learns about the fragile nature of the human body, these learnings are all the product of creative interchange between a person and the environment. Creative in the sense that the learning is somehow greater than the mere facts. We therefore need diversity if we are to grow and mature. Creative interchange is how we come to feel we belong here in the world, that this is our home. And the broader and more diverse the creative interchange, the more deeply we feel that way. If religion is a human quest to feel at home in the universe, Wyman the theologian and Kaufman the biologist seem to identify the same insight. The path to feeling at home in life is by welcoming and celebrating the diversity of life experience. For both writers, the heart of the sacred is found in creative forces. In speaking of the concept of God, Kaufman said, "I want God to mean the vast, ceaseless creativity of the only universe." Wyman frequently discusses God as the process of creative interchange with the world around us. And again, for both, the key to discovering the sacred is through embracing the rich diversity of life. Let me put it this way. The path away from religion, the path of despair and estrangement in life, is the one that isolates us into a cocoon of our own ideas and values. The more rigid in our thoughts, the more we resist creative interchange, opening ourselves to others who are different, the more likely we will separate ourselves from the richness of life this world offers, and the more our sense of home eludes us. Creative interchange is a process in relationship in which individuals express themselves truly and fully to one another, in which each welcomes and seeks to understand the undisguised individuality of the other. Each understands the view held by the other and absorbs that understanding into a personal view. In this way, each expands and enriches the fullness of personal experience. However we engage in this creative interchange through diversity, it will, in time, help us find where we fit into the changing world around us, and therefore help us know for certain that this is indeed where we belong, our home in the universe. May it be so.
Thank you, Bruce. You've certainly given us a lot to think about and some challenging ideas to explore. I haven't check this with Bruce, but I think he'll be available for a short while after the service if anybody has any questions, both from people here in the fellowship and perhaps also on Zoom. Now our closing hymn this morning is number 1064, Blue Boat Home. The words will be on the screen. Please rise as you are comfortable and join us in singing hymn number 1064, Blue Boats Home.
Low below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the holy ocean. Still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbored or port have I known. Wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail, moon my rudder, sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I fly the starry sea, leaning over the edge and wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in a beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the ways upholding, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor nor port have I known. Wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
Now is the time for us to extinguish a chalice here at UUFLB and within our homes. I have asked Bruce to extinguish our chalice for us here in the fellowship. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we are together again, with its message of community, love, and justice, taking it out into the world in which we live until we are together again. Our benediction this morning is by the Reverend Laura Lynn Bellamy. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace. And now let us stand as we are comfortable, form a circle, and join together in our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with Mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be